Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a problem that every single one of us runs into: failed communication. We're going to break down exactly why the things we say get so lost in translation, and, more importantly, what we can do to fix it. Hey, before we dive in, if you like getting complex topics made simple, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us make more explainers like this one. Okay, let's get into it. You've definitely been there, right? You send a text, an email, you say something you think is crystal clear, and the response you get back is from another planet. It happens when the message you sent is not the message they received. So, what is going on there? Well, the root cause of pretty much every single communication breakdown can be traced back to one core concept, something that experts call noise. Now, here's the key thing. Noise isn't just about sound. Nope, it's any factor, literally anything, that disrupts or messes with a message. And this noise, it actually comes in three main flavors that you have absolutely experienced. First up, you've got physical noise. This is the obvious stuff, the literal static. It's the loud construction outside your window during an important call, a super crowded room, or even just your brain getting fried from information overload. Then there's physiological noise. This interference comes from our own bodies. I mean, think about it. If you're completely exhausted, or you're feeling sick, or maybe you have a hearing impairment, it's going to be tough to send or receive a message clearly. And finally, there's psychological noise. This is the static buzzing around inside our own heads. Strong emotions like anger, fear, or even just a total lack of interest can act like a filter, completely blocking us from really hearing what someone is trying to tell us. So now that we know noise is the big overarching problem, let's look at how it actually shows up in our daily lives. It manifests as 7 major barriers that are constantly trying to distort our communication. And these 7 barriers cover everything, from the room you're in to your own internal biases. They are environmental, individual, organizational, channel, linguistic and cultural, semantic, and of course, nonverbal. Let's dig into a few key examples of how these actually work. Now, environmental barriers are basically that physical noise we just talked about. But the individual barrier, that's all about our psychological noise. When we feel really strongly about something, we often stop listening to understand, and instead we just start judging. Our own evaluation literally gets in the way of their message. Organizational barriers are super common in any big group with lots of layers. A message starts at the top, and as it gets passed down through each level, it gets twisted and reinterpreted, kind of like a game of telephone, until the final version is just completely warped. This brings us to a classic and kind of funny example of this in action. It starts when the chief of a space center sends a simple memo about watching Halley's Comet. Everyone should just assemble outside to watch. Simple enough, right? But by the time it gets to the director, the message has already started to change. His version adds this weird phrase: the disappearance of the comet will be followed through in the canteen. The focus is shifting, and the message is getting tangled. And this just perfectly illustrates the final result. A simple memo about watching a comet becomes this bizarre announcement that the chief himself is going to disappear tomorrow evening. That is the crazy power of organizational distortion. Semantic barriers pop up when the exact same words have totally different meanings. For instance, in the UK, saying something went like a bomb means it was a huge success. But in the US, if something bombed, well, that means it was a complete failure. Same word, opposite meanings. This is a famous real-world example of a linguistic barrier. When Pepsi launched in China, their slogan, "Come alive with Pepsi," was literally translated into something that meant, "Pepsi brings your ancestors back from the grave." A slightly different and much creepier message. And lastly, nonverbal barriers are a huge reminder that it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. If your tone of voice, your facial expression, or your body language completely contradicts your words, guess which one people are going to believe? The nonverbal message? Every single time. So those are the key barriers standing in our way. Just recognizing them is the first huge step. Now, if you're finding this useful, take a second and hit that like button. Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the practical solutions we can use to overcome them. Here's the good news. We aren't helpless against these barriers. We can absolutely fight back against communication breakdown. And the strategies work on 2 fronts. At the organizational level, and at the individual level. So let's break that down. First, we'll look at what organizations can do to build a better communication environment, and then we'll dive into the personal skills each of us can develop to become much better communicators. For organizations, it's all about building better systems. They need to actively encourage feedback to see if messages are even being understood. They have to create a climate of openness where people can ask questions without feeling like they'll be penalized. And using multiple channels, like following up a big meeting with a quick email, helps ensure the message actually lands. As individuals, the crucial thing is to become more mindful communicators. And the most powerful skill here is active listening. That means listening to truly understand, not just to cook up a reply. It also means carefully wording our messages for clarity and choosing the right channel for the situation. Okay, so this is all great, but what can you do right now, today? Let's distill everything we've talked about down to a simple 3-step toolkit you can start using immediately. It really just comes down to 3 actions. First, practice active listening. Your only goal is to understand the speaker's meaning. Second, word your messages carefully. Always ask yourself, is there a clearer way I could say this? And third, provide constructive, informative feedback, not just judgment. By identifying which of these barriers show up most often in your life and then actively working to minimize them, you can fundamentally transform your ability to connect with others and make sure you are truly understood. So, think about it. Which barrier are you going to focus on first? Thanks for watching. If you found this explainer helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more breakdowns of complex topics. Start putting these ideas into practice, and you will absolutely see the difference.